All right, welcome back to the Elias Macco Show. Do you know who you're voting for come November's election? Turns out a lot of people don't know. There was a new poll from Leger this week and shows Montrealers pretty much don't know who they're going to vote for. Like ne sais pas, and that's not a guy, by the way, that's I don't know, is in the lead. So let's talk a little bit more about the pathways to victory here and early thoughts on the campaign. Daniel Tran joins us. He's Director of Communication and Governmental Relations at Casacom. Hi, Daniel. Welcome to our studios.
Thank you, Elias. It's nice to be here.
So listen, I don't know if you're a gambling man or a betting man. You know, sometimes I like to handicap races. What do you say right now? I think we're 50 days away. How would you handicap this race? Is it a two-person race? Maybe it's not. Luc Rabouin and Soraya Martinez-Ferrada. How would you handicap this race?
I would say, honestly, anything's on the table right now. So let's think back about, for example, 2013. At that moment, Denis Coderre just came in. Mélanie Joly, nobody gave her a chance, and then she became second, right?
Yeah.
So at this moment, of course, there's Luc Rabouin from Projet Montréal. He worked for the administration, responsible for economic development. Soraya Martinez for Ensemble Montréal, which brings her experience in housing as a minister for the federal. But there's the other players you can't neglect as well. Craig Sauvé, he's known to be a real campaigner with Transition Montréal. Jean-François Cacou with Futur Montréal. And that's very interesting because he actually used to be the executive director for Ensemble Montréal. Then he left. He has his reasons, and I'm curious to hear more about it too.
Yeah.
And now he's running for Futur Montréal. And finally, there's Gilbert Thibodeau with Action Montréal. He's trying to make his place out there.
He does.
He's always telling that the media should invite him more. But
he's always on X making a complaint and warping a poll to show that actually, if you look at it this way, I'm in first place. I'm like, okay, Gilbert, cool your jets.
Yeah.
And, Mr. Craig Sauvé was part of Projet.
Exactly.
So, and once upon a time.
Absolutely.
Let me throw one thing at you.
Go ahead.
I hate to talk about people this way, but I have a sense, okay? Like you mentioned Denis Coderre. Denis Coderre, exciting guy.
Yeah.
You know what? You may not like the guy, but boy, he was a story machine. He was exciting.
Well said.
And let me say, Valérie Plante, whether it's the smile or how she handled things, her joie de vivre, she's also exciting to cover.
Absolutely.
I'm looking at Luc Rabouin.
Yeah.
I'm looking at Soraya Martinez-Ferrada.
Yeah.
Man, nothing goes through my body. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no sense of excitement.
Yeah.
And I wonder how you see it and what these candidates should do about it.
Yeah. So that's a very good question. And for example, I do martial arts, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, right? And I do combat, and we talk about it with some of the sparring partners, and a lot of them are telling me, Daniel, I see news, but I don't know the candidates, and it feels it's flat. I see a lot of propositions out there in the media. Okay, but who are you? Yeah. So my message to all these candidates is that, okay, fine, you want to lay the groundwork there to show what you want to present to the citizens, but ultimately, who are you? Why should we trust you? Can you reveal us part of your story so that we Montrealers can connect with you and see who can they build a confidence for the next 4 years for our metropolis?
Because people do vote for personalities.
Exactly.
I mean, Denis Coderre won because of his personality at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I think Valérie Plante won because of her personality as well.
Yeah.
So that's like, give me a personality here. I don't feel the pulse.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things I want to get to is the repeat promises.
Yes.
I saw this week, we're going to get rid of orange cones. And I'm like, you don't say.
Yeah.
What would be your advice to these people about some of the promises you're seeing right now?
Yeah, it feels like, congratulations, we're back. We just arrived in 2010. You know what I mean? Like some of these things, and of course, we all want a city that doesn't have orange cone, and we know that there's issues with infrastructures. But what can you bring more, right? So far, there's two conversations. There's a conversation, for example, with Ensemble Montréal, with Soraya Martinez and Jean-François Cacou, that did mention, hey, let's bring it to this new era with artificial intelligence. Apparently in Percé, this is what he said. We'll have to verify just to be sure if it's true or not. He said that they're already using AI to be able to detect what road should be prioritized or not, right? So
Gotcha.
I find that's an interesting proposition. On the other hand, with Projet Montréal, Luc Rabouin mentioned, he made an announcement this week, actually, he said, instead of having like Hydro-Quebec doing their thing and this person doing their thing and the city doing their thing, to have one office to really overlook all the works. And I'm like, finally.
I know, but then
what I
he's
mean?
like, but you know what? It's like messaging, right? You know about
Exactly.
you know about messaging.
Absolutely.
I'm like listening to the newscast. Rodrigo Guerrero is promising a central planning committee.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, that worked great in Soviet Russia, like the central planning committee. And I'm just like, messaging here is key. And I'm just like, oh God, you're losing. Actually, he's losing me when I hear him talk of we're going to have a central planning committee.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, no, I'm not so sure of that.
Exactly.
What would be your advice to these candidates right now to stick out?
My advice is that first, tell me who you are. Tell me who you are so, okay, we can build a connection. And, like, of course, all the different boroughs have their reality, and you have to come on the opposite spectrum of, like, the provincial and the federal, where, you vote for your deputy and that's it. For the municipal, it gets more complex. You vote for the mayor of the city. You vote for the mayor of your borough. You vote for the councillors, sometimes borough councillors, sometimes city councillors, sometimes both. And on top of that, there's something you have to take into account as well, is that some areas don't even have a mayor. Like, for example, Ville-Marie Borough, de facto, the mayor of the city becomes the mayor of Ville-Marie. So all this is very complicated, right? And at the same time, my other advice is that simplify things for people, because when you work for so long as a public servant, you get stuck in that loophole, that vocabulary. Okay, we're going to start one committee and go to another committee, but how are you making it simple for people, right? And at the same time, everybody loves apple pie. But the problem is that, do you have the ingredient to even make your apple pie, right? So, of course, we want to cut red tape. Of course, we want to make it simple. But at the same time, for example, most of the parties are mentioning, okay, we're not going to be rigorous with our budget. We're not going to hire, for example, Projet Montreal this week mentioned, we're not going to hire one employee more. Okay, but what about your essential services? Like, you have strikes coming for the STM. You have strikes coming for the blue collars. And even in the general auditor report, they were mentioning that roads were not well maintained. They were mentioning that there was issues with inventory of equipment for firefighters. Imagine, these are the men and women supposed to protect us from fire, for our safety, but not just fire, they're first responders too.
That's
what I mean?
right, and they're making big complaints. I'd heard about that as well. Okay,
Exactly.
let me ask you this, Daniel. What over maybe the next couple of weeks? What will you be looking for?
The first thing I'll be looking is that who's able to really get the candidates out there, because there was some nice choice, I have to admit. For example, for Ensemble Montréal, one of the big surprises I had was Claude Pinard. He came into the race.
He's running for mayor of Plateau.
No, he's actually running for city councillor in Saint-Jacques in the downtown.
And he's going to be given a big role, right?
Yes,
They've said?
exactly.
Yeah, okay.
So he's if elected, he'll be the number 2 for Soria Martinez.
Okay.
And in the he has a great background. He used to be the executive director for Centraide.
Of course. Yeah.
Worked for the Saputo Foundation. So he's really well known. So I'm very curious to see for that. But at the same time, sometimes I'm questioning choices. Like, for example, Cathy Wong, who used to be an elected official, she left. She came back running for mayor. So of course we're all happy. But at the same time, why now? And that's the conversation I'm curious to hear. And somebody who I know personally, Geneviève Deshôtels, she's running for mayorship in Verdun, and she used to be the executive director for Éducalcool, So big name, great person. But when I look at the campaign strategically, I'm like, how come she doesn't have a complete team yet? Is there effort? Is that something that the party wants to push for Verdun?
And the clock is ticking on
exactly.
that front. Daniel, come back real soon, okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Daniel Tran is Director of Communication and Governmental Relations at Casacom.